This is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, the 7th of January 2025, 9:45 in the morning. Cold and nice day today. Let's see. We're getting 57 now, high of 67. That'll be nice. It'll heat our water up with the solar, save on some electricity. Sunny. Oh yeah, we'll have hot water for free. And the heat of the day here is usually around 2, 3, 3:30, even almost 4 o'clock in the winter. So yeah, it's a nice day. Chief's doing good. I'd like you to pray for Trixie the dog again. There is positive progress with Trixie, so she is moving forward. She's not staying the same. She's not going backwards. She's a dog. So please, more prayers for Trixie for rapid healing, strength, stamina, and endurance for Trixie the dog. For PC, Papa Charlie, prayer requests for strength, stamina, and endurance. PC is taking care of Trixie, and it's a job, but there is positive progress, so we need to keep the prayers going, please. Okay, thank you. There's a lot to cover today. We're going to talk about Trump in Greenland and Canada, and we're going to compare what the scriptures in Jeremiah 50:51 say about daughter of Babylon and the attack from the north. We'll go through all the scriptures, and there, well, you'll see. I think it lends itself to this annexing of Canada in some ways. Now, it says the north and the north, in different places. And you'll see in some places it's referencing the countries attacking America coming out of the north from Israel. But then you'll see scriptures about the northern part of America. So we'll get into that. I think you'll enjoy it. It might happen. Okay? Mexico, I say, nah. Greenland, there's rumors that Trump already cut a deal to buy Greenland. Rumors. But the source is reasonably decent. So let's see. And then we're going to talk about almonds in the Bible. And I ate a bunch of almonds last night, and man, was I glad I got into almonds. I'm also hitting pistachio nuts. And my wife whipped out some figs, our figs, that were frozen, and she thawed them out for me, and I started eating them. I got pomegranates, but I haven't eaten them yet. I intend to do so during the day. I also had some dried mango. It's good. I like it. They were out of the papaya, so I didn't get any papaya. And what else was I eating? Let me think. Pistachio, almonds. She gave me some figs. I bought some dates, M-A-J-O-L, Majol dates. I had like 2 of those. And I had my olives. I'm having a good time, and man, I'm feeling the effects right away. And I'll talk about that later on in the video, but I'm going to go through almonds in the Bible, and after I'm finished, let's see if you don't go out and eat some almonds. I think you will. Before I forget, listen, the Bible tells us clearly if somebody's a vegan, a vegetarian, or whatever, right? Leave them alone. Don't bug them about it. It's okay. All right? So if somebody goes on a keto diet, I say that's okay too. Okay? All right? Don't bug them on that. Because meat is definitely mentioned in the Bible, So don't worry about that. Chief's all activated here. Right? We were outside, now he's coming in. When we're outside, I spend a lot of time with him. I put him next to where I'm sitting and I pet him and stuff like that. So now he's thinking, oh, I'll sit next to Dad and I'll get him to pet me by barking. He'll stop in a minute or two. Remember, he's alone now. Okay, I don't want to get into that. It hurts me. But he's alone now, and I'm giving him a lot more attention. And he doesn't understand the internet, and he doesn't know I'm doing a live stream. So he might irritate the dogs in your house that hear him barking. Maybe the cats, I don't know. So anyway, I'm going to go into the live stream now and make sure we got a live stream. And we have a live stream. And let me have I ever had, I don't know what this guy's talking about. Let's see, somebody said you could save the links you post in your chat in another document. Just copy and paste them instead of typing every time. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. I think you gotta do. Maybe I could cut and paste. I have to think about that. Yeah, I might, but then I gotta go to another screen and pick it up. But somebody wants to see the chief. Okay, chief, your fan club awaits. Here's the superstar. All right. He rolls around in the mud out in the yard in the winter when it's wet. So, okay, I'm going to put my posts up quickly as I can in the chat while people are coming in. I don't think I'll save time cutting and pasting, or no meaningful time. But there's a lot to cover today. There's so much news, my gosh. Afghanistan and Pakistan are basically at a limited war with each other, shooting across the borders at each other. Trudeau resigned. Another one bites the dust. The UK Prime Minister said that if Trump doesn't pull away from Elon Musk, the UK might break relations with America. I doubt that. But he did say it. If he said it, maybe he means it. I don't know. I don't think so. So much news. It's so hard to keep up with it. It really is. Almost done. I am really glad I ate a good handful or two of almonds yesterday. And I'm going to go into that. I really like the almonds. And when you see the Bible significance of the almonds, yeah, you're going to eat almonds. Okay, praise time. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 So why am I the only one that uses the correct biblical names and does praise? They don't even do praise with the incorrect names, do they? I mean, go to 100 sites in social media and see if you find one doing what I just did. As you guys know, I'm a Kohanim, a descendant of Aaron, which means I'm a Levite. Not all Levites are Kohanim, but all Kohanim are Levites. And the sons of Zadok are all Kohanim, but not all Kohanim are sons of Zadok, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this for real. And I like to do this every so often. Chief, no, you just got to hang out. We'll go out after the broadcast. Promise, Chief. You could have a good time out there. I'm in Numbers 6:22. Now, being a Spirit-filled, Holy Spirit-filled member of the Kohanim clan in Levite, I'm going to do this for real. For all you guys that watch the video that are true believers in Yeshua. Okay, if you watch it as a video or a live stream and you're a true believer in Yeshua, this will affect you. I'm doing this for real, but I'll read it. Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, so I am a son of Aaron, many, many, many generations removed, saying, on this wise you shall bless the children of Israel. If you're a believer in Yeshua, you're in Israel. He calls you his brethren. He's a member of Judah. Okay. Which is one of the tribes of Israel. It's this line of David. David was in Judah. You shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them. Now here we go. Jehovah bless thee and keep thee. Jehovah make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Jehovah lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee shalom. And I put the name Jehovah upon the children of Israel, and Jehovah will bless them. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And that was real. Okay? They don't use the right name of God when the rabbis do it. Okay. So what's it worth? Not much. What's the name? Jehovah, not Hashem, which means the name. No, it means not Adonai. It's Jehovah. And do all things in the name of Yeshua, right? That's a scripture. So I do all things in the name of Yeshua, including this. Do they do that? No. Okay. Let's get started. No, Chief, stop it. All right. We got that prayer request done. There's no other prayer requests that I'm aware of. If you want a prayer request, you can put it in the chat or email it if you want more privacy. Give me the two initials of the person you want the prayer for, so it keeps it more private. And you could also put a TARS request in. 7.1 earthquake right outside of Nepal. I think there was some death, 50 something, and damage. 7.1 is, I would say, anything over 7, you're getting into significant earthquake. And Nepal is not, they probably don't do construction with seismic standards like Japan or America. So it could be, rather devastating for them. We'll probably be getting reports as the hours roll on. The Houthis, those lovely people down in Yemen, said they launched a few drones at Israel yesterday. We don't know anything about any drones headed towards Israel yesterday. What drones? No red alerts, no takedowns, nothing. So what are they just lying outright? Probably they launched some drones and they crashed somewhere. I don't know. So Afghanistan and Pakistan are having border shooting war right now. They both have troops on their representative borders. They do share a border. And they're shooting at each other seriously. So the shooting each other is probably designed to try to break the other side's border enforcing, break through and then invade. I'm not hearing about anybody running around trying to get them to calm down and peace talks and this and that. Taliban are very vindictive. Pakistan, not so much, but they are aggressive. But Taliban also want to attack Iran. So the implications here could be rather dynamic and interesting. So let's see how this develops. No, Chief. No, Chief. He'll cut it out and take his nap, don't worry. Trump said that he told some Israeli politicos that, and it leaked out, that he intends to become more aggressive with the Houthis, with using American military against the Houthis in Yemen. Now, I'm going to discuss all the bells and whistles associated with this. There's a clause in the Constitution of America that says America should defend the high seas against piracy and other activities that interfere with the high seas. Now, it's undefined as to high seas 20 miles off America or all the way over in the Red Sea. But it appears that Trump could use this, and it appears he doesn't need to do much in terms of getting permission from Congress to do it. It seems to be an already granted power, and he's the commander-in-chief of the military. Well, on January 20th he is, at noon, I think. So he's got a green light, according to some constitutional experts. He may decide to try to take it to Congress, or he may not. But he has a Republican House and Senate, so it's probably not going to be a big deal. So what can Trump do? The Houthis don't run around with a navy, and they don't fly planes to attack the ships. What do they use? They use drones, various missiles, and they have deployed what you call a naval drone, a small boat that's a suicide boat with a bomb and blows up on impact or when it has proximity to the ship. I think theirs require impact, I'm not sure. And that's what they've used. So what would Trump's main thrust be? Well, aircraft. They can't shoot down American planes. I don't think they could take down an F-15 or an F-16, let alone a Raptor or an F-35. The UK and Israel fly freely over there and bomb them. Lightly, not seriously, and not enough. We know from Jeremiah 49 that Yemen is Edom, which is on the Red Sea. And Yemen is on the Red Sea. So, the Israelis refer to it as Taman, which I believe is also used in Jeremiah 49, which means south. The regular Yemen army is outnumbered 2-1 by the Houthis, but the regular Yemen army has planes and tanks and things like this. I would say it's extremely unlikely that the regular Yemen army is going to turn against the Houthis. That would be kind of civil war-ish. I don't see it. The Houthis are sort of a unspoken government, like the Hezbollah in Lebanon, or maybe as a more blunt example, the drug cartels in Mexico, which I believe really run the Mexican government and have for many decades. And I think that's a common trait in many countries in South and Central America, not just Mexico. They got so much money, and many decades ago they just started they find some squeaky clean guy that they could work with, and they just run him into the presidency. That's it. And then they put him in the parliaments or the Congress, whatever they have. And then they do the same with judges and everything else. So that's how they operate. And that's why they live on estates with private jets and mansions and big staff for cartel, and nothing happens to them. They have to be careful about leaving America, but they, tend to run it. Now, Chapo, I don't know what the deal with Chapo was, but he made some mistakes, obviously. I guess they have limits as to what they can and cannot do, and Chapo went too far. No, you got to be quiet. No. All right. So what the most logical thing? There's a theory. Do a siege against Yemen. What's a siege? What would it look like? Well, you put your ships off the coastlines of Yemen, which is on the south and west only, not the north or the east, and you stop ships from going in and out. So what? They got land borders. It's not working. They could put military on the border of Saudi Arabia, which I think America may do to protect Saudi Arabia. The Houthis are like psychotic serial killers in a hospital for the criminally insane that can't stand trial because they're not in reality. That's your Houthis, that's Hamas, that's Hezbollah, that's Al-Qaeda, that's ISIS, that's them. Okay? They're in their own other world. Okay? And if they do attack and they win, hey, great, we won. If they attack and they get killed, oh, we'll have a big martyr's funeral for him, and he went to paradise and got his 70 or 71 virgins. I really haven't kept up with the latest count on the virgins, And, that's what they're like, they don't care. So let's say Hamas took hostages from us, which they did. So let's say Israel goes out and grabs family members of the leaders and whatever and starts taking them hostage. What happens? Nothing. They say they're martyrs. Let them die. They'll be glorified. You got the picture? You're dealing with the criminally insane serial killers. They love cutting heads off with a dull knife. You're dealing, ISIS a while ago took some Jordanian prisoners they had, military, I believe, and put them in a cage, like a large cage for some lions or something. It was probably 8x10 or something. And they hooked it to a cable on a crane, and they took it and they lowered it into water to drown them. What are you talking about? I mean, these people were so far gone. They're so far. Now in Syria, there's so much violence going on now, and we pick it up here in the Middle East and Israel from social media. They're persecuting the Alawites, which was the sect of Mohammedanism that Bashar Assad followed, and a lot of them were in the government, and they're getting persecuted badly. And sects are fighting among sects. SECTS. You have to understand that there's chaos in Syria. The government is not stable, anything but. Turkey has grabbed land there. We have grabbed land there. America and the UK have bases there. Russia, by the way, this is the latest update. All the ships at the Russian naval base in Latakia, Syria on the Mediterranean are now gone. The last was yesterday or the day before was a submarine. There is a battle cruiser named Admiral something, some Russian ship that's floating around just a few miles offshore. Now this ship has missile launch capability, which could be dangerous to the HTS in Yemen, in Syria rather. Now there's a lot of equipment still staged there that the Russians are probably going to take out. This is a big bonus for NATO because Russia can't refuel and service their ships in the Mediterranean anymore. You know, they would use that to bring submarines in, and what happens? Well, they make repairs. You know, boats need, you go out for a month or two, they need repairs, right? They need new food. You know, you could have a nuclear submarine where the power lasts for many years, like 20 years or something, and that's fine, but you can't have nuclear food, you know? They can keep so much food on the boat, and then if they don't come up with more food, well, you die of starvation. Could they conceivably put fishing rods out and lines and catch fish? I guess so. I don't know. But how do you get enough fish for a few hundred guys? You know, so they got to pull in and refuel. Well, the nuclear submarines don't have to refuel, but they got to get repairs. They need stores. They need not just food. They need medical. They need uniforms, all sorts of things, you know, a radio breaks, a generator's on the blink, you know, they need other things, toilet paper, soap, shampoo, toothpaste, you know, all this stuff, right? So Russia doesn't have this option anymore. It hurt Russia. And this could have been a definite motive of America. Biden's anti-Russia, obviously. So this really hurt Russia. I'm not kidding you. They kept, you know, warships there that launched missiles and, you know, like destroyers and cruisers as well. And they had a big operation there. And then within a long walk, you know, probably a 1 or 2 hour walk, they had a air base near it. And I don't have any updates if all the planes are gone. Now, the HTS, the people that took Syria over, have not entered the Russian Navy base, but they're taking pictures standing right outside the border of it. So I think something was going on with Putin, and Putin probably said, if you don't let me get all my stuff out of here, I'm going to, you know, bring 25 long-range bombers and light you up. And could Putin do that? Hands down, he could do it. And he could go back and do it again and again and again. But Syria is not that important to Putin. Putin doesn't wake up in the morning and say, oh, I got to kill Israel before Israel knocks down the Dome of the Rock and stuff like that. They're not oriented towards that at all.
I got the word.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mommy got the error before I got to her.
So, his orientation is not towards that. He moved this stuff up to Libya, and as I told you yesterday, the Libya today is not the Libya in the Bible days, like when Ezekiel 38 came about, was written. That Libya was including I believe it's Tunisia, definitely Algeria, which is a huge, huge country, and probably parts of Chad and Niger, Niger. It was basically the land between Egypt and Morocco. So the Libya we see today is in old biblical Libya, but it's way the heck smaller. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. It doesn't have a good fit to Ezekiel 38, and we're not in the days of Ezekiel 38. Okay, Ezekiel 38 and 39. You need to read the whole book of Joel with that because it's the same thing. You need to read Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11 because that's the same thing. And you need to read Zechariah 14. And when you read all of that, it's the great day of the Lord is what Gog and Magog is. And when you read all of that, then you'll understand what it is. But just to simplify it, in Ezekiel 38, it says Israel's living in peace and safety without bars and walls, with great riches, cattle, gold, silver. If you think that's the Israel of today, there's something wrong with you. Oh, but the man of peace is going to come and make peace. Come on, guys. Study the year of recompenses and the day of vengeance. That's in Isaiah 34, verse 8. And it says it's over the... I'll read it to you. It's right in your Bible. And I didn't sneak into your house last night and come down the chimney with my reindeer and put it in your Bible. It's been there all along. As I live, saith Adonai Jehovah, surely because I'm sorry, it's Isaiah 34:8. I need more coffee. Okay. Isaiah 34:8. My bad. Okay. For it is the day of Jehovah's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Zion is Israel. They don't want us to exist. They don't want us to have the land God promised us by covenant in the book of Genesis. I think it's Genesis 15, from the Euphrates to the Nile, which is about 100 times larger than the land we have now, by the way. They don't want any of that. That's the controversy with Zion. Now, who do you think's going to win, Jehovah or the enemies of Israel? Who? Who do you think is going to win? So you need to know this, and the church never teaches you this, do they? Then you go to Isaiah 63, I believe, around verse 3. Verse 4. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. See, there's a year of redemption, and it's right knocking at the doors now. And there's a year of recompenses, which means payback. Now, the Israelis got payback. Remember the scripture says, to the Jews first, then the Greek, then the heathen, the Goyim. It says it in two places. Okay. The good and the bad. First, the bad comes to Israel first, then the good. Then the nations get it, because Israel becomes a blessing to the nations after we have redemption. So they don't teach you this. And it's also, when you study it, the day of vengeance is in the year of recompenses and in the year of redemption. So apparently, it looks to me like the last day of recompenses is an overlap with the first day of redemption. Recompenses precedes redemption. It's the shift over, and they don't teach you that. And it's also in Isaiah 61, which is quoted in the New Testament. It's there called the acceptable year, and the day of vengeance is associated with the acceptable year also. So this is a massive thing that you're not being taught in the churches, but it's in your Bible. And I didn't come with my reindeer and get on your roof and go down your chimney and write it in last night. It's been there all along. And you ask yourself why they don't teach it to you. I'm not going to shove that down your throat. Okay. So what will Trump do with Yemen? First thing he's going to do is keep his warships away from Yemen because they can hit American warships, and they have. And he's going to hit them by air. And I would say to get Yemen beaten down, it's probably going to be about 5,000 bombs or more. It's going to be a big event. It'll start small. Trump will learn that the Houthis are mentally ill and they don't give up. Attacking Iran is not going to make them give up, it's going to make them fight harder. People that don't live in the Middle East don't understand the mindset of these people. To get this kind of mindset, you have to go to a psychiatric hospital for the criminally insane. That's where you're going to pick people like this up. When does a serial killer stop killing? Well, there's several ways it happens. One is he's dead. Two is they get old, sick, ill, debilitated, and they're stuck in a bed someplace. Or what? They get caught and locked up. Do they reform? Not really. There used to be a serial killer in Berkeley, California in the late 70s. His name was Stinky. He wasn't so much a killer as he was a rapist, but he also, I believe, killed. What Stinky would do is case his victims. At the time, I had a girlfriend. This was in the 70s. I didn't know my wife, and she lived in Berkeley, and she had a small child, a boy, from a previous marriage. I did not know the Lord at this time. And she was worried because Stinky profiled his victims, and he had 20, 30 more. He was loaded with victims. Why they called him Stinky was he smelled of gasoline. So it was thought that he worked at a filling station or someplace where he was around gasoline. And he would case his victims, okay? Surveillance them. And he looked for single women with a child. And what he would do is find a house that they could break into. That he could break into. Which in the 70s in Berkeley, still affected by the hippie days. Berkeley was well into hippiedom in the late 70s. And he would break into the house stealthily and hide in the house. He would wait for the woman to come home with the kid. Remember, he cased them. He knew the routine. And he would hide in a closet under the bed or someplace. How many of you walk into a house and, clear the house to make sure nobody's in it? Well, it might be. I used to work in law enforcement when I was a young man. Maybe some people in law enforcement that have enemies would actually do that. But the best way to do that is have a dog. Because you come home and there's somebody in the house with a dog, even if you got a dog that's not going to attack, the dog is not going to be acting normal because the dog's going to know something's extremely wrong. So if you open up the door and the dog doesn't greet you with the door, oh yeah, out comes the gun. Now, cats, to a great extent, you'll have the same thing. I've had cats that meet me at the door when I come home to greet me. And then it's usually brief. A dog will carry on, petting, hugging, The cat will be brief. But, so what he would do is he would hide in the closet and then step out and scare the daylights out of the woman. His usual MO was a knife, So he would have to grab her. You can't point a knife at somebody from 15 feet away and expect a great reaction, you know. So he enjoyed scaring the woman, which is a rapist modus operandi. Pretty typically, they like the fear, fearing the woman. And most of the time, when they engage the woman and they penetrate the woman, I'm trying to pick my words, they culminate into ejaculation extremely fast, like seconds even. I mean, they're just into this whole sicko thing. So um, he picked women with kids because he would tie the kid up and then tell the woman, he's going to kill the kid and get the woman to cooperate freely, so take your clothes off, lay down on the bed, the woman would comply and all that. And I think he hurt a lot of his victims and killed some. And there was one or two victims that didn't get killed. I don't know what happened. I can't remember anymore. I think somebody came to the house and he ran away. So they had descriptions of this guy after he did 20 or 30 of these. They had descriptions. The Berkeley police were, at that time, an advanced police department. They were one of the first to use the semi-automatic revolver. Back then, they were using an 8-shot Smith & Wesson 9mm. They were educated people. They had college degrees, a lot of them, and they understood investigative procedures and techniques, and they didn't catch this guy. They would not, I mean, they were trying. The community was nuts. So my girlfriend wanted a gun, so I bought her a 12-gauge shotgun. And then she didn't want the gun because she was afraid her kid would play with it. That's valid. So a friend of hers had a large dog, and she was very friendly with the dog, so she loaned her the dog for a while. So what happened to Stinky? Stinky went away. All of a sudden, he was never caught. He was never put in jail. And Stinky just went away. One of the big mysteries. He terrorized Berkeley. And Berkeley was the type of town back then where it wasn't common to have a gun in your house, Whereas if you went to Oakland, next door to Berkeley, there were lots of guns and lots of houses. And these hippie-oriented women were not that prone to, fighting back. Like, they wouldn't pick up a scissor and try to stab him in the eye or anything, So what happened to him? Well, again, the one big theory is the idiot got shot as a burglar because he would appear to be a burglar. But that's a sketchy theory because the investigators would have normally gone through dead burglar cases to see if they got a match. And, he smelled like gasoline with consistency, and they knew what he looked like. So, and there was a case where he was running away, jumping over fences and stuff, and he was being chased by people too. He came close, so he wasn't that good. He wasn't that good. So we thought maybe he got killed as a burglar, but it's unlikely. I don't know what happened to the guy, but I would say, is it likely he just moved away and retired? No, I don't think so. He could have got killed in a car crash. He could have committed suicide. He could have overdosed. He could have gotten killed in some encounter someplace, not as a burglar. Maybe when he was approaching the house, somebody saw him and they had a fight and he killed. I don't know. But they stop when they're dead or they get so old or sick or ill they can't do it. And that's your terrorists. That's the story of Stinky. At around the same time, you had another killer, Zodiac, and he never got caught. But these terrorists are blatant and bold. They don't worry about getting caught too much. So I don't. I say the only thing you're going to see from Trump is he'll raise a coalition, probably with the UK and maybe one or two other countries, or three or four, and they'll start bombing Yemen heavily, the Houthi targets, and it's going to be an extensive attack. Extensive. And whenever they try to shoot missiles at American boats or merchant marine vessels, there's going to be attacks from with missiles hitting Yemen within minutes of their attack on the ship from American Navy vessels. And the bombings are going to keep going till he beats. He has to make it look like Gaza. That's what it's going to take. So Yemen will be a desolation for all time. That's in the scriptures in Jeremiah 49. It doesn't come back. And Trump is just the guy to do it. Will you get it done with 5,000 bombs? Maybe. It depends on what bombs you're using, Will there be a ground invasion? Well, we had to do a ground invasion in Gaza to finish it because they got tunnels and underground bunkers and things like that. So it may come to that. Will the Houthis cut the internet cables if they keep getting attacked? I would say without a doubt they will. Is it hard to do it? No. No, you go out in a fishing boat with some small kegs of explosives. They know where the cables are. You drop them and they detonate. And you just do it a few times and you blow the cables. You could also take a boat and drop an anchor and drag it till you rip the cables. That's what China did. That's how they do it. Taiwan is convinced that their cable that was cut the other day was from China. So yeah, the internet's going to go out. You know that. Russia cuts cables. China cuts cables. Yemen cuts cables. I'm sure North Korea will get in on it. And you'll have cables getting cut. So Trump is going to hand the Houthis their head on a silver platter. That's what he's going to do. And will the American military rally for this? Oh gosh, yes. Their ships have been hit by the Yemen. Biden's a punk. He don't do nothing. So yeah, they'll go and I'm sure it's going to be heavy, extensive bombing. It's going to start out on Houthi targets. It's not going to stop them. Trump's going to realize they're underground. They got weapons underground, and then more bunker buster bombs and more this and more that. The Yemen government's going to get outrageous, and Trump will say, well, if you want to stop them, go ahead, we'll help you. And they won't do anything. They'll just hem and haw and beat around the bush like the Lebanon army. And that's what you're going to see. And the end of the Houthis is going to come. Will Trump leave them alone if he bombs them enough and they don't attack any ships for a week or two or three? I don't think so. I think he's going to want them to demilitarize before he stops, which means all their weapons are going to be destroyed. All their radar, all their missiles, their drones, their factories for such, their storehouses, their warehouses, their pistols, their rifles, their machine guns, their vehicles, their uniforms, their barracks, command centers, their payroll system, everything gotta go. Trump ain't stupid. Everything gotta go. And will the Houthis do that? They'd rather die. Understand your enemy is a psychotic serial killer wearing a uniform calling himself a military member of some lunatic organization. Crazy terrorists. Okay. Problems in Israel for Netanyahu. The settlers in the West Bank, there was a shooting in the West Bank, 2 days ago? A few people got killed, a few people got wounded. The settlers are what the media calls Jews that live in the West Bank. These are what the media refers to as Zionist Jews. They normally will wear a kippah or a yarmulke. That's, I don't wear any yarmulke. This is for warmth. You wear hats like this too. They, they don't want to get picked off by the Palestinians that have become dedicated to being murdering terrorists. So they went around and burned a large amount of cars. I believe it was a large amount of cars belonging to Palestinians as a revenge for the shooting. And there were pictures of the IDF standing around. Now, this is what a lot of you won't understand. Israel's a small country. Everybody knows everybody, and, you know, not intimately, but everybody's got a niece, a nephew, a son, a grandson in the military, okay? And they stay in the reserves till they're 40 years old. So all the people in Israel in the military are very united, okay? And the military's not going to shoot at Israelis for burning cars of Palestinians that are going around killing them. So they didn't know what to do. They just stood still. The settlers are never going to shoot at the military. They're in the military. They're in the reserves. They learn tactics in the military. And when they go in the military, they don't go into the motor pool or the, what do you call it, work in the kitchen. There's a name for that. Culinary? No. Well, whatever it is, they don't do that. They go for commando units, of which Israel has 42 different special forces, and they're all real. Long training, you gotta sign up for an extra year or so. And are we effective? Highly effective. What you're seeing with Netanyahu in Gaza and Lebanon is the restraints from Biden placed on the military and the world to some extent, so the military can't deal as effectively as they can if there was no America. This thing in Gaza would have been maybe at a max 90 days. What Israel would have done is they would have cut the water, they would have cut the sewage, they cut the internet, cut the phones, no humanitarian aid, and it just would have been a matter of time. Netanyahu never really flooded the tunnels. Why didn't he do that? Inhumane. And it was also unecological because it would cause ecological problems after the fact. What would Trump have done? Trump would have took gasoline trucks, you know, the trucks that fill the filling stations up. He would have took them over there and he would have had them pump thousands and thousands of gallons into the tunnels. And then call the Marlboro man to ride over there smoking his Marlboro on a horse and have him flick it down in the tunnels with the gasoline there. Yeah, I'm making a joke. But yeah, that's what Trump would advocate. Water would have done the job. No. So our hands were tied. There was constant restraint on us. Okay? Humanitarian aid. So what happens? They steal a large amount of humanitarian aid, put it in their own stores, and sell it to the Palestinians at exorbitant prices. And then what? Keep a lot of it for themselves. So if we lay a siege to them and cut the humanitarian aid, they're perfectly prepared to let the Palestinian civilians starve to death while they eat. Netanyahu's already talking about cutting the humanitarian aid as we approach January 20th, and Trump is in favor of that. But it's too late. They probably have enough for 3 to 6 months, water and food. So all we would do is kill the civilians, which I don't even think Trump would go for. So I don't know what Trump's going to do. He reiterated, I think, yesterday that his, telling Hamas that the hostages better be back before January 20th or they'll be hell to pay. He went back on it and he said, He didn't deviate from it. He reinforced it and said, yeah, that's what I said, and I mean it. So I don't know what he's going to do to them. Honestly, I don't know. Because any of these good remedies is going to require force, blunt military force. And I don't know what he's going to do with the Palestinians that are not in there. But they're all of the same mindset, kill Israel, you know. I don't know what he's going to do. Bombing it, there's not much left to bomb. Tunnels, there's not many tunnels or any left. If we find out about tunnels, they're gone. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. There's not many options. Ground invasion, air invasion. That's it. Air attacks or ground attacks, missile attacks, which is an air attack. I don't know what else he can do. They haven't given the hostages back. They came up with a list of 34 hostages, and they did not say how many were alive. And I keep telling you guys, there's probably 4 or 5 alive, and if they told us that, the Israeli public would go in rage and kill the Palestinian people as well. Kill them all. They put the hostages in the homes of Palestinians. So that's how we couldn't find them. And they use them as slaves and sex slaves and servants. They're goners, these people. So I don't know what Trump's going to do, but I would speculate that Trump will go to the Pentagon and talk to the special forces, and they'll come up with an effective plan, I would think. But I don't know what it's going to involve, you know. Netanyahu's going to get really mad at the settlers because now they're taking matters into their own hands and not relying on him and his government. Now, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, the right-wing portion of Israel, are going to support the settlers and not want any prosecution for them. And Netanyahu's going to want to investigate who they are and prosecute them. And if they irritate Ben-Gvir and Smotrich enough, they'll do a vote of no confidence on Netanyahu. And then he may or may not get reelected. So it's interesting. Biden just gave Egypt $95 million to, in turn, give to the left. Now, why he did it this way, I don't know. He gave them $95 million to give to the Lebanon army, not Hezbollah, to strengthen them, apparently to occupy South Lebanon. And then the assumption is Israel will leave if the Lebanese army actually fulfills their obligation of the ceasefire, which they so far have not. So I basically, first of all, 95 million is not a lot of money, and I don't know if it's going to do any good. I seriously doubt it. So the UK Prime Minister said they might sever ties with Trump if he does not distance himself from Elon Musk. So I'm not really aware of why the British Prime Minister can't stand Elon Musk, but it appears that would be the case for such a heavy-duty statement like that. Trump is a reasonably capable negotiator, to put it mildly, and I think he will calm the Prime Minister down. I don't think the UK is going to pull from America. It's just noise. The Canadian politicians are now saying that they want to annex California, Washington, and Oregon. Okay, this is a joke, all right? Could you imagine that ever happening? No, I can't. So, they're trying to make some sort of a stand against Trump. Now, I've spoken to Canadians, and they're telling me that this is favorable. Becoming a state of America is favorable to a lot of Canadians. I think we have to take this one not lightly. I don't think Mexico will ever become a state. Forget that. Greenland, like I said, there's a reasonably decent source out there, a retired Colonel McGregor, who hates Israel and comes forth with a lot of poison news, but when he says something, he usually says it out of truth. When he comes up with something firm, and he says that he understands that Trump has already reached the deal to buy Greenland with Denmark. Now, as we're going to very quickly go into Bible prophecy on Jeremiah 50:51, daughter of Babylon, which we all know is America, we need to understand that I don't think Greenland's going to fit into this. Greenland is not attached to North America. It's an island. It has strategic possibilities to defend America because you could put all sorts of ships there, aircraft, missiles, and it acts like a buffer for America. But I don't think this one is going to go. But the Canadian one can line up with Jeremiah 50 and 51 and meet the test. And the way we get there is we go through the scriptures, which we're going to do in a minute. I'm just going to jump into the chat to see if I got to throw the garbage out. Thank you for praying for Chief. Chief needs your prayers. He is getting much better. He's running all over the yard now, and not running around, but he walks all over the place, you know. The Taliban has U.S. weapons, yes, billions of dollars worth. But Pakistan is a tough cookie. Your helper is here. I don't know who you are, sorry. The word Zion means dry, parched place. You're close with desolate. Dry, parched is what? Parched, P-A-R-C-H-E-D. That's what it really means. The Houthis are cursed, sure they are. Oh, my wife was. I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you meant. Yeah, we had a delivery of firewood today. We were using up the firewood. It's so cold. We had to get more, and we analyzed it against the price of electricity, and it's sort of like a push kind of So rather than run all the electric heaters, there's no central air and heat in almost every house in Israel. None of them, practically none of them have it. So you have to put little room heaters on, and you got to run multiple. But we have a wood burning stove that we put fans by it to blow the hot air around the house, and it's probably more efficient, and it certainly dries the house out. It gets damp. See, the houses are made out of concrete, all concrete, tile floors, tile roofs over a concrete roof, so it gets very cold and damp. The houses are designed to be 10, 15 degrees or more cooler than it is outside. So yesterday I went outside to warm up. It was high 60s. The house was freezing. So we can control the cold better with the wood, you know. But all right, let's go into I checked the chat a few times during the live stream. A lot of people come in, make fun of a hat I wear or sunglasses I wear or my age or anything they can think of, you know. So I get rid of them, you know. The more you get rid of, the less you get. All right. So we're going to go into the scriptures and get a good breakdown. Jeremiah 50, verse 26. Now, I'm not saying this has to happen with Canada becoming part of the United States, and I think it's certainly going to take a long time, but I could be wrong. Maybe it won't take a long time, but I'm not saying it's for sure going to come to pass. What I'm trying to break down for y'all is it possible to meet the prophecies about America regarding Canada? Does it have a fit? Possibly, and it does, and I'll show it to you. Jeremiah 50:26. Come against her, daughter of Babylon, from the utmost border. Well, you see the words in Hebrew are not the words in English per se. Okay, what it really says is it has the word min, which means from. Good way of putting it in English is from. The other word is Hebrews 70:93, Strong's number, which is ketz, and it kind of means end. They call it a border, which is a loose way of doing it because the border is your extremity of a country. So yeah, from the utmost end or border. Open her warehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly, let nothing of her be left. That's America. Now, utmost border. It's from end. Now, Alaska today is not really like the end of America because it's separated by many hundred, I think thousands of miles from mainland U.S. Hawaii is all the way out in the ocean. I don't think we got a fit for Hawaii. Now, they may destroy Hawaii. I expect they will wholeheartedly. But it doesn't mean that Hawaii is the utmost end or from the end because it's not attached. The same for the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. They're not attached, but I think they'll eventually get it. But they're not attached. So from the end, so if we had Canada in America, then Alaska would be the end. And it's close to Russia, which means China and North Korea could also traverse through Russia to get there over the Bering Straits, which is 40-ish miles wide, nothing. Ships could get across it easily in 2 hours, and if it's frozen solid in the winter, they could roll across it, walking and driving across it. So this seems to be, yes, it could be a fit. it doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but it lends itself to some feasibility here for sure. But it doesn't mean it has to happen. Okay, let's keep going. Jeremiah 50, verse 3. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. Okay, so we'll go to the beginning of Jeremiah 50, verse 3. For out of the north, all right, let's get the words on this. The word is min, which means from, and the word for north is Strong's number 6828, Safon, or Safun, Safon. This is a northern direction. So there's two times we read the north. The Lord's telling us the nations from the north. I think when we read the nations from the north, it means north of Israel, which could be, Turkey and other countries up north, maybe Iran, I don't know. Okay, so we have to differentiate between the two, or we'll get confused. So, for out of the north there cometh. So the words for out of, it doesn't say for out of, it says from north. And it says, come, Goyim, heathen nation, against her, which shall make her Eretz land desolate. Okay, so I think this is meaning the nations attacking are coming from the north of Israel. Okay? That's how I interpret that. But that doesn't negate anything. Now, we gotta go back in. I think I botched something up here. I'm forgetting something. Yeah, the word safun for north, when you go to Strong's, has a different meaning, and Strong's is much more reliable. This means hidden or dark. Used only of the north as a quarter, gloomy and unknown. North side, northward. So we got to readdress this now. I'm sorry. Out of the hidden or dark, there cometh a nation against her, which shall make her. You see, the countries north of Israel, not in the dark, like in the winter, Alaska and Canada, have very little daylight. So when we interpret it this way, I'm afraid we're back to Canada, part of America. So let's, the wait a minute. So for out of the hidden or the dark, there cometh Goyim against them. For from, it's what it's saying, for from hidden or dark. Make her land desolate. Nah, it's still the same thing. It's bringing us to the nation attacking it. It's not the subject of the attack. So I think I had it right a minute ago. Okay. Jeremiah 50, verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken, their arrows shall be of a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. See, an arrow is a missile. What is a missile? It's launched from a bow. What is an arrow is launched from a bow. What is a missile if it's launched from a missile launcher, a bow, and it's an arrow, basically, a big arrow. So here it says, I will raise up and cause to come against Babel an assembly of Gadol, great heathen nations or heathens, from the north, and that's the word from the north, or the hidden, or the dark country, land. And they're the ones that attack. So I think this is probably is it Canada attacking us? It lends itself to that. Maybe people in Canada tell Russia and China to come over there and open up a military base because they're afraid Trump's going to annex them. You ever think of that? That would lend itself even better. Or Russia comes over. Or Russia and Iran comes over. This lends itself too. We don't know what's going to happen. But this is indicating again it's the country attacking them. All right, there's a few more scriptures, not that many more. Jeremiah 50:41. Behold, a people shall come from the north. Again, men, the dark or the hidden or the north. And a great nation, and many kings shall be used from the coasts of the earth. So this is obviously the people, the armies attacking America are coming from the north. That's what this is. Okay, then we go to Jeremiah 51:48. Then the heaven and the earth and all that are therein shall sing for Babylon, for the spoilers that come unto her from the north, saith the Lord. See, this is lending itself more that they're going to come in from Alaska or Canada rather than Canada's going to be part of America. You see where I'm going? So if I was going to really take a punt at this, I would say, no, it's not going to happen with Canada being a state. And they may get scared, and they may ask some countries to come in and help them who are going to attack America. Remember, Trudeau is sticking around until sometime in March. He resigned, but he's still fulfilling the duties until sometime in March. And he hates Trump at this point, I would say. So I don't think it's Greenland because Greenland's not attached to America. So I don't think they're coming through Greenland. I don't see that. And they're not coming from Mexico because Mexico's to the south. So I'd leave Mexico out. So we'll go back and read Jeremiah 50 verse 26 again. come against her from the utmost border. And again, that's saying end. That's not the same word saphon. This is ketz, from the end. Open, so it's saying come against her from the end. You know, which could be a border. So this means they're probably going to enter from Canada or Alaska. You know, that's how I take that. Let me see what's cooking in the chat. Let's see. It's not really a term like end as the beginning. Not that type of term. It does lend itself to geography. Evil against evil. Of course, you're right on that. Okay. Get back on my notes. I just made a note I wanted to talk about for a minute. It just, you may never have thought about this, or maybe you did. It's not revolutionarily going to change any of our end times doctrine at all, not even one iota. It says the sea give up her dead. Well, what that's talking about is there's many people in the sea that die in the sea on ships and stuff like that, right? And they're dead in the sea. They're not buried, and they don't on the earth anywhere, and they don't lay and rot and sink into the earth and decompose into the earth. They're just in the sea. So that's the sea giving up her dead. It's not that God sends people into the sea to be punished, awaiting judgment, or something like that. I just thought I was supposed to talk about that, so there it is. So it's not any revolutionary thing. It's pretty much what it says. All right, almonds. Exodus 37, verse 19. Three bowls made after the fashion of almonds. Now, this is describing the menorah that will go in the temple, in this case, the tabernacle. Now, when you look at the 7 candlesticks in Zechariah 4, they're configured differently, so this would not apply to them. This applies to the temple menorah, I would assume. 3 bowls made after the fashion of almonds. And that word in Hebrew means almonds, the nut. Okay? Now, you don't go out and eat one of those candy bars that's covered in chocolate. It has coconut inside, and it has 2 almonds on the top under the chocolate. That's not what I'm talking about. You eat the almond itself. You don't eat the candy bars, okay? There's no good reason for us to eat candy bars or commercial ice cream or junk like that, guys. What value is it? Hostess Twinkies, strands of licorice, Good and Plenty, M&M's. There's no value. What about chocolate covered almonds? Well, that's like eating the good and the bad together. Why? Just eat the almond. Let me keep going. 3 bowls made after the fashion of almonds in one branch, a knoff and a flower, and 3 bowls made like almonds in another branch, a knoff and a flower. So throughout the 6 branches going out of the candlestick, the extensions that they're on in the menorah. And in the candlestick were 4 bowls made like almonds, his knoff and his flowers. So the bowls in the temple menorah were made to look like an almond. Now, God isn't going to make the bowl look like a scorpion, and you know, if you ask for bread, is your father going to give you a scorpion? He's putting a praise on the almond, I would say, inescapably, right? Now, you're free to eat any fruit and vegetable you want, but you have to be a blithering idiot to go out and eat a bowl of poison ivy, right? Or poison mushrooms or something like that, or eat a cactus with the spines on it. You don't. You got to use your noodle, and think. The almond, it's got a lot going for it right now. Numbers 17:1. And the Lord spake unto Moshe, or Moses in English, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and take every one of them a rod, according to the house of their fathers. So there's 12 tribes. That's what it's, to cut through it, that's what it means. A rod from each tribe. According to the house of their fathers. Of all their princes, according to their fathers, 12 rods. Write thou every man's name upon his rod. I'm going to take a fast break and go through this. And when I'm finished with this, you're going to go get some almonds. You watch. You watch. Okay. So now I'm in Numbers 17, verse 3. And thou shalt write Aaron's name upon the rod of Levi. So the Levites' rod, Aaron represents the Levites. Aaron, the original Kohen Gadol, Kohanim, was in Levi. Now the rabbis tell you, no, the Kohens aren't in Levi. They're crazy. Maybe in their Talmud they're not, but in the Bible they are. They really are. Okay. For one rod shall be for the head of the house of their fathers, and thou shalt lay them up in the tabernacle of the congregation before the testimony where I will meet with you. And it shall come to pass that the man's rod whom I shall choose shall blossom, and I will make to cease from me the murmurings of the children of Israel, whereby they murmur against you. There were disputes as to who should be in the role of the Levites, you might say, accurately at that, I guess. And Moses spake unto the children of Israel, and every one of their princes gave him a rod apiece. Each one gave a rod. For each prince one according to their father's house. So each tribe had a leader or prince that gave a rod. Even 12 rods, and the rod of Aaron was among them. So it was 11 plus 1, Aaron's rod. And Moses laid up the rods before the Lord, before Jehovah, in the tabernacle of witness. And it came to pass that on, let me check something. It's a testimony, maybe. Okay, witness testimony. And it came to pass that on the morrow, Moses went into the tabernacle of witnesses, and behold, the rod of Aaron for the house of Levi was budded and brought forth buds and bloomed blossoms and yielded almonds. And Moses brought out all the rods from before the Lord, from before Jehovah, unto all the children of Israel, and they looked every man his rod. And the Lord said unto Moses, bring Aaron's rod, and again before the testimony to be kept for a token against the rebels, and thou shalt quite take away their murmurings from me, that they die not. Okay. So he used the rod to show he chose Aaron, and overnight it blossomed and brought forth almonds, which was a heck of a miracle, right? Don't you think? Why do I live on a street named Almonds? I used to years ago live on a street named saith, olive tree specifically. How about that? Anyway, it's true. It's just the way it is. So anyway, I suggest you explore almonds. Now, I'll tell you what I know. No, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical person. I'm a lay person that watches videos on YouTube and reads internet stuff. Okay. So, I found out that if you take bread, and now my wife makes relatively healthy bread, but it's still going to have a high glycemic index, okay, but it's not going to have all the garbage added in. And you take almond paste. What is almond paste? It's peanut butter made out of almonds. That's exactly what it is, okay? without added garbage in it. It's just almond paste, so they're not putting in sugar and chemicals you can't pronounce the name of, right? And you want to get it organic, and you spread it on your bread. What it does is it stops the creation of the glucose quickly, which causes spikes where your glucose goes up and down. And then, even if you're 11 years old, when your glucose goes down, you feel like you get a drop in energy and then you get hungry. So the almonds curtail that effect. But what I found is if you eat a nice little handful of almonds, instead of the bread with the paste, or you could eat the paste out of the jar. It's kind of gunky, but it tastes pretty cool. But if you just eat the almonds, you don't get the glycemic index. You're getting a bunch of good nutrients, and you don't get hungry later. How about that? They say if you put butter on your bread, it drops the glycemic index down some, maybe 15-20% or something like that, right? Maybe around 20%. So I tried taking some bread and putting butter on one side, I mean real good healthy butter, and on the other side the almond paste, and it still gave you the glucose up and down, the spikes. It didn't do much. So instead of messing with bread and stuff like that, now what am I messing with? Figs, pistachio nuts, which are not, I don't think in the Bible, I'd have to research it, but they're tasty. I get them without the shells. The almonds I bought were white and they had no skin on them. They took the skin off them because I find the skin on the almonds to be very dry and not that tasty. That's how I prefer it. And dates, and which is not specifically in the Bible, although the date palm tree is mentioned. The date's not, but I think it's a good thing to eat. And figs, you know. So I'm eating a little of this and a little of that, and not eating bad stuff. And I'm noticing fairly immediately more energy and less appetite cravings. Once again, I also eat some cheese too. I eat some, they sell this stuff in Israel. You know that in America and Europe they have a meat called prosciutto or prosciutto. It's Italian ham. Well, they have it in Israel and they call it prosciutto, but it's not Italian ham. It's not Italian anything, and it's also not ham. It's made of thinly sliced beef, cows, and they age it and season it, and it tastes really good. It comes in little pieces like that. The dogs love it. They love it. I like it. So what I do is I take a few pieces, and they're not big pieces, and I wrap it around a piece of cheese, usually a hard cheese, and I don't put it in a sandwich. I just chew it that way with the cheese. It tastes great. So I eat the meats, and I eat the cheese, and I eat the eggs, and I like my olives. So instead of doing the olive oil, which if you've ever taken a tablespoon of olive oil is rather yucky, I just eat the olives. You try to get about 12 or 18, depending on the size of the olive, and it's like taking a dose of like a tablespoon or something of olive oil. You could go either way with it, but I like the olives. And if you get bigger olives, you could eat less of them and get there maybe 6 or 8. I don't know. It just depends. You can fool around with it. And these are the Bible foods. The two witnesses are the two olive trees. So God's going to lead you to eat an olive, and it's going to be bad for you. The same with the almonds and the rod. That's going to be bad for you. You know, come on. So I did that the other day. I went through the Bible foods. So I might do more of this as we go on. But, you know, Almonds are good. They're good. Now, there's other healthy food in the world that comes from the Orient and China and stuff like that. Are those bad for you? Or no, they're probably really good for you, like the researchers say. But I'd rather stick with the stuff in the Bible. Of course, I live in Israel, so I got a compounded reason it's usually available. So, you know, I hope you find it interesting, useful, and take advantage of it. You could all, study these different fruits in the internet. And, see what the researchers talk about in terms of their value and stuff like that. Yeah, I was kicking against Almond Joy. That was it. Yeah, that's not what you want to do. No. Haagen-Dazs, no. Baskin and Robbins, no. That stuff is not the best stuff for you to eat. I couldn't think of the Almond Joy name. So again, if you don't like the taste of the almonds with the brown skin on it, you're like me. I don't like it either. Plus the texture is yucky. So the almond paste, if you get an organic one that doesn't have bad additives in it, which I don't think the organic ones do, you can use that. I mean, you could just take a tablespoon or a teaspoon and eat it. You got to stir it up with aggression because it has an oil in there that gets to float to the top. So you got to get aggressive and stir it a lot so the oil gets mixed back in there. It tastes a lot better that way. If you just leave the oil on the top, the paste gets very dry. It's still tasty, but I think you're better off stirring the daylights out of it. I got a show and tell for you here. Right on my desk, too. What do we have here? Anybody know what this is? Some of you might. Some of you may not know what it is. You should know what it is. It's a pomegranate. The high priest robe at the bottom. There is no more high priest. We now have the anointed prince from the line of David in the temple. Read Ezekiel 45. There's no temple yet, but he'll be there. He's anointed too, like the two witnesses. And that word is, like Yeshua was anointed, So when you the high priest at the bottom, he had bells so they could see if he died. If he was moving, the bells would ring. And he had a bell. Then they had a pomegranate. And then a bell the pomegranate was made out of a fabric to look like a pomegranate. And then they had the in Solomon's temple on the pillars, he put brass representations of a pomegranate. So tell me you're going to go wrong eating pomegranates. Now, I concede if you eat an almond joy, you're eating almonds, but you're really beating yourself up on the way to get there. You don't want to do that. You don't want to eat a Mars bar or what are the other ones? A Three Musketeer. That stuff is. You want to eat coconut. Don't get almond joy. Go buy yourself a coconut. Coconuts are quite good for you. They're pretty good, really. But have I eaten candy bars? Oh gosh, I don't eat that stuff anymore. My wife heard me talking. I want some figs. I know we preserved some figs, and she says I'll make you fig Newtons. You see, she knows my old lousy habits. I said no, I don't want fig Newtons. I want real figs. A fig Newton is not a fig. Now she'll make it without the garbage in it, and it'll be a lot closer than the fig Newtons you buy in the supermarket that are called by there's a trade name, some big company makes a fig Newton. That stuff you don't want. If you can cook and make a healthy fig Newton, it's one way to go, but why not just eat the fig? Dried figs you can do. I also enjoy papaya and mango. They grow in Israel, they grow in our backyard. We grow pomegranates here. My wife was trashing me a bit because she said, now you want to eat pomegranates. We had a whole harvest of pomegranates. He didn't want them, and we gave them away. But now I'm studying the Bible and the foods, and I know this works for me anyway, and I'm not a doctor or anything, but you know, you might want to look into it and try it, you know. I'm not sitting here telling you to go out and get a big Hershey bar, you know, and put almond paste on it. That's stupid. You know, you don't want to do that. But go for the Bible foods. Now, again, I reiterate, if you want to be a vegan or a vegetarian, or you want to be a keto diet, you know, the carnivore diet, I don't know if it's the same thing. I guess they're related anyway. Go ahead. My wife makes the bone broth. I don't like the bone broth that much. I find it repulsing, the taste, you know. I don't get a bad side effect from it. I just don't like the taste and the smell. So she says, well, you don't like it when I make the bone broth. I said, go ahead and make it. I'm not worried about the smell. I'll manage. You know, I said, I'll eat it. So what are my plans for eating it? Well, I'll tell you, and you're probably going to laugh. We're going to start with a little of the healthy salt. We use the healthy sea salt. We don't use the stuff, the big Mortons or that we don't use Diamond. Oh, no, you know, you want to get sea salt. So we use the good salts, and I'll put a little salt and a little good pepper in. If that doesn't work, then I'm going to hit it with garlic. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to take hot sauce, cayenne, and hit it hard. And that'll probably work. Then I can eat it. But I think that it's a pretty good thing to eat, you know, for collagen and things like that. I'm not a scientist or anything, or a doctor, but it could be a good thing, you know. So she likes it a lot. She tends to be on something like a keto carnivore diet, and you can't condemn anybody for that. There's no scripture for that. Okay. If they just want to eat veggies, or I don't remember the difference between a vegetarian and a vegan. And some vegan vegetarians will eat fish, others won't. I don't know all the differences. Some will eat milk and cream, and some I don't know any more the differences. But you know, you can't crash on people for that. The scriptures are clear. You know, if they want to be the reverse of a vegetarian and eat only meats, you can't crash on them, just like you can't crash on them for eating just vegetables. You know, I understand that the best way, according to researchers and doctors, to eat your vegetables is raw or lightly fry them to make them taste better. So, if I'm going to fry things, I'm going to use two sources. Two things to fry it in. One would be butter, real butter, you know, pure butter, not, you know, synthetic butters, you know, or olive oil. Have I used both at the same time? Yup. Does it work out? it's pretty interesting taste, but I think they're better separate for my taste buds. But I have tried it, you know. It's not bad, you know. Like I told you the other day, milk, I think the way you got to get milk is straight out of the cow or the goat. You can have goat milk, you know, no problem, or right out of the cow. I think when it goes to the factory and the processing and the treatment, you know, is it really milk anymore? You know what I'm saying? And what are the cows fed, and what kind of pesticide goes on the grass they eat? And how are they fed? Are they just locked up in a barn their whole life? I mean, you know, a free range animal, and it's right out, the milk right out. I think that's what's intended, you know. And bread is a lot of times it was barley bread. Really, in the Bible, it was barley bread, and we're all oriented that it's only meat bread. No, a lot of times it was barley bread. And um, my wife makes barley bread, and it's pretty good, but you got to make it without adding all the garbage in. And that, I mean, I don't know how you're going to check it, but that has I'm pretty sure, a low glycemic index. And if you eat wheat, I think the way to go is like an organic tortilla made out of wheat, you know, thin and flat. And the Arabs Moroccans, and those are Arabs, have really great breads. How do I describe this? It's thin, I mean, really thin, like a thick piece of paper. And it's put in an oven, and the restaurants will serve it to you hot right out of the oven. And it doesn't have that, you know, commercial bread glycemic thing going on with it with the glucose. It's much less. It's pretty good. Now, I don't know about a corn tortilla. I imagine that wouldn't be all that bad, but you got me on that one. I haven't really researched it, so I don't know. On that one, maybe some of you know about the pluses and minuses of a corn tortilla. They're thin and flat, you know. Um, I think eating some of these Bible foods I named, you don't have to eat all of them, but eating some of them I think will, number one, make you regular, make you feel good, stop that hunger from the glucose roller coaster, and, you know, lots of things like that. I think you'll benefit from it. I hope you know, I know we're all busted up, we're all under stress. It says that we'll be made weary, and we're weary, and weary takes its toll on your body, and, you know, we should try to help our body, and the way we're going to help our body is, of course, not to worry and stay strong in the Lord, and also to eat right. Ben and Jerry, yeah, that's milk and honey, yeah, land of milk and honey, but I don't know if you can buy milk in Israel that's straight out of the cow. I'm guessing no. I'm guessing not. You know, pasteurized, sterilized, treated, preservatives. They sell milk here that comes in a cardboard box with like a plastic coating on it, and you can keep it on your shelf outside of the refrigerator easily for 3 months, and then open it and it tastes fine. But what the heck did they put in it? Oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't want it, you know. It's scary, stuff like that. Milk ain't supposed to hang around for 3 months and be fine. Something's wrong, right? I don't think it's milk. So enough on that. I got across what I wanted to today. Remember, we walk by faith, not by sight. So we don't try to deliver ourselves by sight, it's by faith. Okay? Faith. And times are going to get worse. But we're gonna, when all this stuff gets worse, what's the Lord gonna do? More mercy and grace. He's not after you, okay? It's not after his family. It's the world that's gonna get it. And very soon we'll be laughing and they'll be crying, those of them that are left. And Elijah should appear in Israel openly, working with the Levites pretty soon. And then I'm sure a lot of you are going to come over here. Because I'm sure Elijah's going to want to hear because you got the true gospel. How many people got the true gospel? So, there you have it. So, we might, I don't know what's happening in Israel. Are all our wars winding down? Hochstein came to Lebanon. I think he was there today or yesterday. I think he might still be there. There's a presidential election coming up in Lebanon, I think on Friday, the end of the week. And he's telling them that Israel wants to extend the ceasefire from 60 days to 90 days. And the 60 days was the original one, and that's over January 26th, which is almost a week after Trump. So we'll have to see. And the Lebanon army did move in and cover another position in Israel, and some Israel troops moved back from inside Lebanon. But I would say the chances of the Lebanese army doing what they were supposed to do and keep Hezbollah out of south of the Litani River, weapons and all, I don't see them doing it. From what I see now, they're not going to do it. And war will break out again with Lebanon. And good question is Iraq. Iraq is just sitting there in suspended animation trying to protect their border from the HTS, the new leaders of Syria. And they're just sitting there, playing I hope we don't get overrun. And if you listen to Iran, they got new missiles with an 11,000-pound warhead that goes out into space and it circles around Saturn, Pluto and Neptune and comes back and lands in Jerusalem and creates a genetic bomb that kills every Jew with DNA. They're such pathetic liars, and the Hamas, the Hezbollah, the Houthis, ISIS, Al Qaeda, they're all pathetic liars. That's all they do is lie. He who loveth and maketh a lie. They'd rather lie than tell the truth. They just lie. Yeah, it's ridiculous with them already, I go through, social media for what the Arab Muslim pro-terrorist people are saying. And, every day practically I hear Tel Aviv's up in smoke, Jerusalem's up in smoke, Israeli military got clobbered. Not true. It's not true. But they just, every day they come out with news to keep their followers, going home. It's ridiculous. So the American government, FBI people and those types are expecting January 20th to be terrorist attacks, and we'll see. A lot of times when they announce it, they tell the terrorists, the terrorists know they're laying in wait for them. They may not do it. That's why they announce it. We don't know. So I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife, for our peace, safety, protection, and joy. Pray for our finances. We need some work there. Pray for our animals and pets, which are all rescues, to be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos from me. And pray for my wife to keep getting better. And remember to pray for Trixie the dog. She's improving, but let's keep the prayers going. And that's pretty much what I got for today, so I hope you got something out of it. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I will do updates if we have any unusual events. And I'm out. Thank you.